Mastercard and Create and Cultivate, in collaboration with Fearless Fund, are excited to embark on an educational roadshow as part of Mastercard's Strivers Initiative, which aims to highlight the impact of Black women-owned businesses across the U.S. From Los Angeles to Atlanta and New York to New Orleans, we'll be coming together with local small business owners, city leaders, and industry experts to talk about the state of Black women-owned businesses and the actionable tools and resources to help these women not only survive, but thrive. Join us along the Strivers Roadshow as we drive the important dialogue and celebrate Black women business owners who are paving their path to priceless and whose businesses serve as pillars for their communities. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our third stop of the Strivers Multi-City Educational Roadshow, New York. My name is Arian Simone, and I'm the general partner and co-founder of the Fearless Fund, a venture capital fund built by women of color for women of color. At Fearless Fund, we are committed to helping bridge the gap in venture capital funding for women of color founders, which is why I'm thrilled to be joining forces with Mastercard and Create and Cultivate to discuss the state of Black female small businesses in cities across the U.S. and actions to foster an equitable financial system with local business experts, community members, and small business owners. Black women-owned businesses are vital to our economy and are amongst the hardest hit by the impacts of the pandemic. The financial implications of this past year threaten the economic progress of Black female entrepreneurs and business owners alike. The Strivers Initiative aims to elevate the visibility and impact of Black female business owners who are overcoming obstacles to maintain and grow their business. These inspiring entrepreneurs are not only running businesses, they are giving back and serve as role models to their communities, which is why we must support and celebrate them today and every day so that they not only survive, but thrive. And with that, let's get started. To kick off our New York event, we're diving into a conversation on building a more inclusive and sustainable economy. Financial and monetary systems represent the cornerstone of economic activity. But what it will take to drive a more equitable financial system, here to discuss the state of the future with me is Nicole Perry, Deputy Commissioner of Executive Affairs and Chief of Staff at the New York City Department of Small Business Services. Welcome, Nicole. Let's get into it, shall we? Now let's take it back to the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at the New York City Department of Small Business Services?
Sure. I joined SBS earlier this year, but prior to joining the New York City Department of Small Business Services, or SBS, I spent the past 8 years focused on promoting the financial inclusion of and empowerment of New Yorkers who have been marginalized due to their income or due to their race. And this work was really focused on how do we empower New Yorkers individually, but also how do we address systemic and structural barriers to help more New Yorkers build assets and build wealth. At SBS, I am the Deputy Commissioner and Chief of Staff, which means I wear many hats. I act as a strategic advisor to the Commissioner of SBS. I also oversee key agency initiatives. But in general, my role is really about ensuring that the agency's mission to create economic security for all New Yorkers is being fulfilled. And that can be through our programs and services, through our marketing and outreach, our community engagement and partnerships, and through our policy and advocacy work. Equity of access and inclusion are at the core of what we do at SBS. And we think entrepreneurship is the most viable and sustainable way to close the racial wealth gap.
It is. The Department of Small Business Services supports businesses across a wide array of industries. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what have been the impacts of this past year on small businesses in general and specifically on Black women-owned businesses in New York?
Yeah. The past year has been rough. You know, in 2020, New York City was the epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis, and it triggered an immediate shutdown of our city to prioritize the health and safety of New Yorkers like me and you. And, you know, the health crisis triggered an economic crisis, which further highlighted systemic issues that contribute to the inequalities in business ownership and the racial wealth gap. And it's, you know, really been devastating to our smallest businesses, especially our immigrant and minority-owned businesses. You know, according to the New York Federal Reserve Bank, Black-owned businesses in New York City are twice as likely to be closed during the pandemic than their white counterparts. And so we know that Black women-owned businesses are, you know, affected by structural challenges that impact Black entrepreneurs in general, but they're also impacted by the barriers that challenge women entrepreneurs. And so we've been seeing firsthand over this past year the disproportionate impact COVID-19 has been having on Black communities. You know, we believe Black-owned businesses are an essential part of the fabric of New York City. And as I mentioned, entrepreneurship has provided a pathway to wealth generation for Black families for centuries. And so it was just really important for us over the past year as the City of New York and the New York City Department of Small Business Services to really step up during this time of the pandemic and work tirelessly to provide support to small business owners in New York City.
New York's Department of Small Business Services offers a range of grant programs to help community-based organizations strengthen and revitalize commercial districts. Can you tell us about some of the grants available specifically for Black women-owned businesses? How essential are these funds and what impact do they have on small business owners?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, these access to financing and funding is critical to small business owners. And it's been a gap and a barrier for Black business owners and Black women business owners in particular. You know, before the pandemic, we were seeing stark disparities in New York City around the entrepreneurship landscape. You know, Black New Yorkers that make up 22% of New York City's population, but they're only 2% of business owners. And one of the biggest barriers is access to financing assistance. So, you know, we're really proud of the work that we've been able to do during the pandemic. Since the start of the pandemic, we've connected over 5,000 small businesses to over $142 million in local, state, federal, and philanthropic funding. And so we've been offering services and programs that help New York City small businesses take advantage, one, of federal funds that are available. So we launched a campaign called Fair Share NYC, which is a campaign that offers free resources to help businesses understand and apply for those funds. But we've also offered and created our own loan and grant programs. Right now, Black women business owners with a loan from a community development financial institution or CDFI can apply for our interest rate reduction grant that will help reduce their business debt. Also, earlier this year, our mayor, during the State of the City address, announced a new $100 million loan fund that will be launched later this year. And so that's an option. But, you know, we encourage small business owners, again, specifically Black women business owners, to visit one of our New York City Business Solution Centers, which can help connect small business owners to financing that makes the most sense for their business. And the individuals at the Business Solution Centers are able to help business owners apply for that financing.
That's excellent. I'm curious to hear from you about why you feel it's important that companies and big brands take a stance and provide support to this community.
Yeah. It is very important. We have over 230,000 small businesses in New York City, and they've been fighting very hard over during this pandemic. And they've turned to us as the government for guidance and leadership. And we've tried to provide support around equitable access to financing and strengthening connections within the entrepreneurial community. And also just helping them to meet the challenges of the economy of tomorrow. But we can't do this work alone. And we're not doing this work alone, but we know our city is at its best when we all work together. And so it's really important that the public and private sectors work together to support the recovery of our small businesses, and that we also support a fair and equitable recovery.
Yes, that is so true. Thank you so much, Nicole. You are such a resource for entrepreneurs, and we appreciate you sharing your insight and sage advice. And with that, let's dive into the next roundtable discussion. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected every small business, but it has hit the Black community and Black business owners disproportionately hard. Historically, Black entrepreneurs face systemic barriers to success, like lack of access to capital, fewer business mentorship relationships, and a general lack of business opportunity. The pandemic has exacerbated these long-standing inequalities, making it harder for Black businesses to endure the crisis and access recovery resources. Before COVID hit, the number of Black-owned businesses in New York City was increasing at a rate 4 times higher than white-owned in pre-pandemic years. However, between February and April 2020, Black business ownership rates dropped 41% in the United States, the largest rate of any racial group, and in New York. Black business ownership rates fell even further by 70%, according to a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And these stats are especially striking when you look at the state of Black-owned businesses pre-pandemic. The road to recovery post-COVID is long, and perhaps the longest for Black women-owned small businesses, which have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, experiencing higher rates of forced closures, defaults, and fallout from the economic downturn. Today, I am joined by an incredible group of panelists for a thoughtful discussion on how we can create an equitable financial system and ensure our small businesses, especially our Black women-owned small businesses, have the access to the funding and resources needed to survive and thrive. I'd love to invite each of you to a quick 15-second introduction. Share your name, title, and what you do. Nicole, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Perry. I am the Deputy Commissioner for Executive Affairs and Chief of Staff at the New York City Department of Small Business Services. And our mission at SBS is to create economic security for all New Yorkers by connecting New Yorkers to good jobs, by creating stronger businesses, and by building thriving neighborhoods.
Michelle?
Hi, everyone. My name is Michellecadore. I am the owner of Yes, I Am Clothing, which is designed to inspire and empower. I'm also the owner of The Spot NYC, which is a unique Brooklyn-based fashion boutique featuring 25 plus independent Black-owned brands, including my own. And I have a third business, Cadore Advisory Group, consultancy, where I help small businesses, especially of color, to launch and grow.
Ashley?
Hey, you guys, I'm Ashley Rouse. I'm the founder and owner of Trade Street Jam Company. We make low sugar, clean label, culinary inspired vegan jams for cocktails, baking, cooking, and all the things.
Rajatha?
Hi everyone, I'm Rajita Swaminathan. I head programs and operations at Grameen America. Our mission is to provide financial inclusion to women entrepreneurs. We do that primarily by providing access to capital. Thank you.
Salah?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Salah Goss, and I'm head of social impact for North America at the Center for Inclusive Growth at Mastercard.
Thank you all for being here with us. There's so much I want to talk about, so let's get into it. First, I want to talk about the state of women of color-owned small businesses right now in New York. Michelle, after 3 years of working full-time while growing 2 businesses, you were finally able to take the leap to full-time entrepreneurship, and then COVID-19 hit. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced, and what have you learned from them? What advice can you share for fellow small business owners who are also facing and navigating these COVID waters and dealing with different operational challenges?
Hey, Ariane. So 4 months after transitioning to full-time entrepreneurship, I had to close my doors for my boutique. And my store was 90 to 95% client facing. So my biggest challenge was, how do I connect to my audience? And of course, we had an e-commerce, but at that point, we had to really figure out how to rev up our digital presence. So I took the challenge head on. I decided to, expand our reach online and connect with other partners that can feature our business and make it more visible to our ideal audience. I connected with Digital Doors program provided by Mastercard, and I really grew my business from being 5% e-commerce to 50% e-commerce to today. What I suggest to small businesses, entrepreneurs, is that you have to be flexible and you have to be ready. Challenges come to us left and right. That's what entrepreneurship is about. And when we're able to be resourceful and innovative and figure out, creative and figure out ways to rise from these challenges, we're all the better for it. So, find ways that you can connect with your community, that you can expand your platform however you can and reach out to your audience as best as you can in order to expand your visibility or to keep your business thriving.
That is excellent. Ashley, you started Trade Street Jam Company in your Brooklyn kitchen and bootstrapped the business from the ground up. Going into 2020, much of your revenue came from events and selling jam in person. How did you pivot your business strategy when COVID-19 hit? How was working from home impacted the way you work and live?
So I think Michelle really, she hit the nail on the head. You really just have to be able to pivot. And so we did that by figuring out the best way to reach our customers through online. And so I think the most important thing is, from doing all these events in person, we really built up a strong customer base. But what it was really about was now moving those customers from one place to another, right? So we're not building a bunch of new customers. We're trying to kind of move who is loyal and who really cares about the brand, just move them to a new place. It's like when you have a favorite store and they say they're moving to a bigger and better location, and it may not be the convenient location that's right around the corner from you, but if you really rock with that store, you're going to go to it. And so we kind of just found the way to communicate with our customers, reach our customers, and get them kind of switched over from seeing us in person, but to be able to find us online. And a lot of that is communication, right? We spend a lot of time talking to our customers through email marketing. We're always networking on social. I have an intern who is our social media kind of coordinator. And I mean, she spends so much time just networking on social media, responding to comments, responding to DMs, reaching out to customers, asking them how they feel. So still building that rapport, but just doing it in a different way. And as far as working from home, I actually love it. I'm a homebody, but I also love spending time with my family. I have a new baby who's 9 months old. And so for me, it's, even though I work many more hours, I can also spend more time with her. And I think for me, it makes it all worth it.
That is beautiful, and congrats on the new baby.
Thank you.
Rajatha, Black women were among the fastest growing entrepreneurs before COVID hit, representing 42% of new women-owned businesses, 3 times their share of the female population, yet only receive 0.06% of venture capital funding. Why do you think there's such a lack of representation in the entrepreneurial landscape?
Sure. So you're exactly right on that. Black women entrepreneurs have been growing at the fastest rate. There have been newer entrepreneurs coming on the scene much faster than most of the other communities. The biggest point of differentiation is the access to capital. This has been both pre-pandemic as well as during the pandemic. And we see the highest amount of roadblocks and challenges from mainstream finance on particularly towards Black women entrepreneurs. And that access to capital is the very fundamental requirement. It's the catalyst to keep a business alive and running, and especially to be able to grow and invest more into your infrastructure, right? And we saw during the pandemic, what was required was this little bit of extra investment that could help businesses pivot, that could help businesses operate safely, or help businesses go from brick and mortar to digital. And it's this lack of access to capital because of a vicious cycle from not having credit to not being able to access more credit that often puts a lot of really high potential entrepreneurial ventures on the backbench.
I have a follow-up question for you. Can you tell us more about the research that your company has done on this topic and what we can do to turn this statistic around?
Sure. So we found a couple of interesting things. So one of it is that the biggest barrier is what we call the black box of a credit score, right? Or credit history. And that's a little bit of, like I mentioned earlier, a vicious cycle because you don't have a good enough credit history. And therefore, you're not given the opportunity to get more credit, as a result of which you don't build any more credit history either, right? So it's a cycle that's hard to break out of. And that breaking the cycle is one of the largest challenges to overcome. That's number one. And the second, on the flip side of credit building, is having assets, right? So having this basic emergency savings fund, having a cushion that can be of use when there is an emergency, albeit not a 1-year-long pandemic, but any quick emergency that comes, whether it's personal, whether it's a quick pivot in your business, or just a simple expense cushion. When that's missing, or when the right tools to be able to make those savings are missing, that puts businesses a little bit on a slower trajectory than they otherwise would have gone on. So what's required is somewhat of a more holistic approach, right? So we need more access to capital. We need this access to capital to be built on different parameters that are not built on the same traditional parameters that have always existed, right? Because we can see evidently that they are not working equally for all communities, right? And then by holistically, I mean, it's not just only capital. Then you also provide other financial tools, financial products, and financial education on how best to deploy capital and how best to save from the income you're making, how best to invest across multiple businesses should you have them. So it's this holistical approach that actually helps keep you financially healthy and agile and helps in overall financial mobility.
Thank you. Moving on to Nicole, the road to recovery for small businesses post-COVID is long, and data from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce shows that women-owned small businesses have an even longer road ahead of them. Where can small business owners in New York turn to support, financial and otherwise, during this time? How can we engage Black-owned small businesses with consumers, resources, community partners to ensure that they not only recover post-pandemic, but that they also thrive long-term?
Absolutely. So I'll talk about and highlight two initiatives at the New York City Department of Small Business Services that are a tremendous resource for women entrepreneurs. One is Women Entrepreneurs NYC, or We NYC, and that is our landmark initiative for women entrepreneurs. The initiative was launched in 2015, and it delivers tailored research-based programs for women entrepreneurs to better connect them to resources, education, and community that they need to start and grow a thriving business. And again, it's designed to get at some of the barriers that my fellow panelists have been talking about around access to capital, and also barriers around credit building and financial education. All of these services that We NYC provides are at no cost, and they're open to all women throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. And within We NYC, there are 4 programmatic areas. One is We Connect, We Master, We Fund, and We Legal. And again, it's about financing, mentorship, legal resources, and more to women entrepreneurs. We've served nearly 17,000 women since the program's inception. So we're really excited about it. And small business owners could visit we.nyc for more information. But we also launched during the pandemic last year, BNYC, or Black Entrepreneurs NYC. And again, this was about focusing specifically on the needs of Black entrepreneurs and developing programming and services and a community and mentorship opportunities around capital, professional networks, and mentoring and contracting opportunities. And so the BNYC is focused on we call it the 3 M's of money, marketing, and mentoring. And one can visit nyc.gov/BNYC for more information about that program.
I love that. Money, marketing, and mentoring. Salah, on to you. Mastercard is committed to putting the full weight of the company's resources, everything from equitable financial tools, services, technology, and philanthropic investments into building a more inclusive and sustainable economy. Can you tell us a little bit more about Mastercard's commitment to financial inclusion?
Yeah, I sure can. And thanks for the question. So I think I'd start just by saying that driving financial inclusion at Mastercard is not new. I think we've long recognized that the only sustainable economy that you can build has to be an inclusive economy. And we've been developing programs and partnerships that have brought 500 million unbanked people around the world into the financial system. And so last year, we expanded our worldwide commitment to financial inclusion, pledging to include 1 billion individuals. That's to include 50 million small businesses and specifically 25 million women entrepreneurs into the digital economy by 2025. And last year, we also recognized the need to address structural barriers and systemic racism, and structural barriers to inequality. And we made a $500 million commitment to close the racial wealth and opportunity gap in the United States over the last 5 years. And I think actually today is a good example of what we're doing toward an inclusive economy with our Strivers initiative, what we're here doing today. And it's really a platform that amplifies the impact of Black women-owned businesses they have on their communities and the economy, and hopefully will encourage consumers to support these Black-owned businesses even more. And so we're kicking off this multi-city roadshow, and we're hosting conversations like these across the country to really address the local state of women small businesses and to drive some actionable change. And maybe one thing I can just underscore that really highlights this commitment is what we're doing together, partnering with the Fearless Fund to launch the Fearless Strivers Grant Contest. And this contest will provide Black female small business owners in New York and across the US that have been hit hardest by the pandemic with additional grants and digital tools to help grow their businesses. So lots of different initiatives across the company to support financial inclusion and an inclusive economy. But I think it really exemplifies how central we think this is to our business.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question is for any and all panelists. In the midst of the pandemic, more than 100,000 small businesses have closed forever. But applications for new U.S. businesses are rising at the fastest rate since 2007, with 3.2 million so far. How can we support these new entrepreneurs and help ensure their new businesses don't end up as a COVID cautionary tale?
I guess I can chime in here. It seems like it's on a small scale, but I think using your voice to share information is very important. It's something that I try to do all the time. I started sharing small bits of information on social, just through like my stories on Instagram, little pieces of information, how to build a media kit, how to work on a business plan. And I started getting so much feedback on how much it helped. So I've kind of just put everything into sharing all the knowledge I have. It may not be much, but, we're 5 years old and I've learned so much. We use SBS, some of their free services online. And, I talk about it and people are like, what's that? And it's like, wow, they just don't know about it. The opportunities are there. Or we've used tons of grants to help fund our business. I mean, we've gotten at least $50,000 in grant money, maybe more. I'm probably not adding that up correctly, but we've gotten so many grants and it's free money and it's out there and it's for us specifically. And when I talk about that on social media, people, I get these people reaching out and they're like, sis, how do I get the free money? And it's, just sharing where we're getting these, here, check out this place. This is where you can find grants. Check out SBS. They have free classes. They helped us get the minority and women business, I'm butchering it, MWBE award for our business so that we can get more business because we have that certificate. So they helped us walk through the process, which is traditionally a little bit like longer of a process. And so I say all that to say, just kind of sharing that knowledge, whether it be through social, whether it be through networking in the community, but just literally word of mouth goes pretty far.
Yes. Would anybody like to add to that?
Go ahead.
Sure. Just to add, we respect business owners so much. Taking that leap of faith of kind of doing something that on your own is key. And so to try to support that, we try to follow the data. We do a lot of stuff that's data driven. And from research, and I'm sure lots on the panel are living through this or could speak to it, directly. But there's three things that we found that businesses struggle to do where we try to support. One is get paid. So we know 77% of small businesses experience slow payment or some are still in cash. Get capital. We all know the statistics. I mentioned it before. Just the lack of working capital is huge. And 70% of women-owned SMEs would say they either have no capital or underserved, and then get digital. And we know this is a challenge for small businesses, which is especially detrimental because it's like we're in an increasing digital environment. So given that research, we launched something called Digital Doors that Michelle mentioned before, and it's really just a toolkit to help businesses access e-commerce capabilities, educational resources, a digital diagnostic assessment, and to identify digital gaps as you start to grow. And we've also worked in New York. We've partnered with the Department of Small Business Services to launch a priceless campaign. So these are kind of things that we've tried to do to amplify small businesses and specifically to support Black-owned businesses.
That is awesome. On that note,
that's
let's
great.
look
I have
ahead.
one. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I
you
was going
go
to say,
ahead.
from our experience, it's actually a key factor that differentiates businesses that weren't able to make it through hardship. The pandemic's a prime example, and the other successful ones is a social network, right? So I cannot overestimate the power of having a network. Being an entrepreneur does not automatically come with having a network. You have to build it. It is your first resource, right? So it is a very lonely path if you choose it to be that way. But the more network that you build, it gives you more social capital, right? And we often see, especially in times of hardship, the first people that you go to, I think Ashley mentioned this, is you go to the customers you've already built out. You go to the people you already know to be your suppliers and to be your vendors. You go to your first circle if you do need help with capital, right? So make a very purposeful attempt at building a network for all of these 1,000 new businesses that are starting now. We do not want them to be COVID cautionary tales, right? For sure. And a key way to do that is to build a network around you so that you can leverage these digital tools that Salah just mentioned as well, right? Like, you need that network, that trusted network to support your business when it isn't going as planned, or when times aren't great. You do need that net that catches your fall.
That is so true. On that note, let's look ahead to the future and talk about how we can tackle some of the challenges facing Black women-owned businesses so they can thrive in 2021 and beyond. Michelle, you have long been a catalyst in bringing national exposure to Black-owned businesses and helping them to reach their full potential. How can we all do our part to amplify and support underrepresented entrepreneurs and small business owners? If people aren't able to support a small business by making a purchase, what are some other ways they can pay it forward to help small businesses grow and thrive?
Great question. I was actually going to touch on this before, but this is a perfect segue. Ashley touched on it. You should, if you want to support small businesses, share resources and information with them as best as you can. For me, I know that the best thing, I also heard building community. I have an amazing community of supporters and an amazing community of creatives. And we find that a lot of our opportunities come from not just our research, but from that of our community. We have people slip to us here, try this opportunity here, and we've won so many things. We've gotten so many opportunities because of that. So I think it's important that the community finds ways to share about these small businesses. Word of mouth is still the most free and special way of promoting a business. If you have a good experience with a business, tell people about it. And other ways that you can help small businesses and entrepreneurs is to utilize your platform. Like Ashley said, my store, we already help small businesses. We've housed about 62 emerging Black-owned brands and PLC brands in shop. But now we partner with our mall, City Point Brooklyn and downtown Brooklyn, to continue creating space for emerging brands of color with our Black Creatives and Culture Market. So whenever there's space for me to find space, I want to create an opportunity for others who are up and coming and then provide those resources to them. I'm a former SBS employee. I used to manage the OJT program. So, that is something that helps a business to grow their business by getting subsidies to hire and train employees. And so sharing information, anything that things like that, you want to give to these small businesses so that they can know and grow, and also give them feedback, honest and good critical feedback when necessary, so that they can know how to be better at their business.
Excellent. Ashley, As small business owners look ahead to 2021, how do they set business goals that are realistic, but also optimistic and hopeful for growth? What kind of analysis should female founders do on their business as they start planning for the future?
I feel like that's a loaded question. If I knew all the answers to those, I'd be even further along. But I feel like one of the things small business owners can do is really assess and analyze the market, the need for your product, the demand, what your demographic looks like. I feel like those are very important things. I necessarily didn't do that in the beginning. I kind of just was like, oh, this is my passion. This is what I'm going to do. Passion is obviously so important, but a market need has to be there. You could love movies and love VCRs, but if you want to like start selling VHS tapes, like that's probably not what the market needs, right? So doing some research. I just say this because I talk to so many creatives who think this stuff is so boring, and it is boring, or it can be, but really understanding the market need and where you fit at in that market is so huge. If you're going to be a health conscious product or, whatever it is, you just have to know, kind of get in where you fit in. And I think that's how you can really learn to be successful. And then understanding your demographic and understanding how to speak their language is really important. I know when we started off, we kind of thought our demographic was going to be one thing. And it took us a year and a half to realize that that wasn't who we needed to be targeting. And once we kind of switched over to who was buying our product, we were that much more successful. And that's just such a huge piece. You may want your demographic to be, young, cool hipsters because your product is young and cool, but maybe, older women in their late 40s and 50s actually really like your brand. Like, that's important information. And once you can kind of hold on to that and learn where they're at, right? Are they on email? Are they on social? Like, where are they really looking for your product? Once you kind of get all those lined up, you can really, really learn how to be a successful brand.
Thank you. Rajatha, unless a small business owner had a 6-month emergency fund going into COVID, it's likely they'll need some capital to get their business back up and running. What are some financing options for small business owners, particularly women and Black people and people of color and Indigenous people, small business owners who have less access to capital as they start thinking about rebuilding?
Thank you, Erin. I think that's the question you ask directly points to the space and the opportunity to actually improve on that, right? There isn't as many resources as there should be. I think those of us on the panel here are working towards that, but there's still a lot of scope for improvement. So first, I would say really look for alternative sources, alternative lenders. Microfinance is a great example. Specifically because one, it's geared towards working capital of entrepreneurs. Two, more often than not, Grameen included and some of the other players, they are here to address this need that is not being satisfied by commercial establishments that are otherwise present, right? So I would say really look for alternative sources of lending. We have been really successful in New York in reaching that population simply because we are the ones on the ground, right? So that is the second. And then third, I would say, going back to my previous point, really lean on community. All of these wonderful resources that Nicole mentioned, that Ashley and Salah and Michelle have all really taken advantage of. There's so much that even Mastercard provides that we do not hear of if we're just searching for it by ourselves, right? You really need to listen in and tune in to the places and to the platforms that are sharing this information. So there is a lot that is out there in the form of loans, in the form of grants, or in the form of technical assistance. And all of these three things are really vital to any business. So I'd say really keep your radars on in whichever platform you're, if you're on a digital network, that's great. If you have friends and family, that's great. But really ask very openly and explain your need.
Thank you. To any and all panelists, of course, small business owners may need more than just financial support to thrive. In fact, recent research has shown that early mentorship can have a major impact on a small business owner's revenue and growth. How have your mentorship opportunities and networking opportunities contributed to your success? And what advice can you share for small business owners who are seeking a mentor?
So when I started my business, I actually started with my mentor. My mentor became my business partner 1 year later. And my mentor was just someone who was only maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of me in the retail business. And together we built this amazing platform for other businesses. And then we also partnered with another creative who was doing something similar to our mission for brands, but he was doing that for artists. So sometimes you can find your mentors in your community. It does not have to be a high-level CEO at a Fortune 500 company. It can be someone who's doing something similar to you, who may be just a bit ahead or has more knowledge than you. And together you can build something amazing. So I encourage people to, build their network, tap into their network and see who's doing what is like what you're doing, and see how you can collaborate together and build something, build even better than what you have going.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add to that?
Sure. I'll just add, I know mentors have played a critical role for me personally, but at SBS, we think mentorship is critical for entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so we have several programs, mentorship programs that we've established. One is part of the We NYC initiative that I mentioned, and that is We Connect program. And then we also have BNYC mentors, Small Business NYC mentors, and MWBE mentors. So we have several initiatives and programs that are geared to kind of connect small business owners with seasoned mentors and help them to just learn how to navigate the landscape and allow our small business owners to just learn and grow from each other.
That is true. Mentorship is so key and it's so important. To any and all panelists, talking openly and honestly about rates and about money more generally plays such an important and overlooked role in leveling the playing field for women and minority-owned businesses. So with that in mind, I'd love to know, what is your number one piece of financial advice for small business owners and entrepreneurs?
Always pay yourself. I think it's important to always have some money put aside. If it wasn't for the fact, when we moved into our new location here, we were doing amazing. We were able to quit our jobs. But, in the beginning, those first 2 months, my partners were like, let's take some of that money. I said, no, we have to save it for a rainy day. And that rainy day turned out to be COVID, right? So it's very important to make sure that you keep a reserve to the side, no matter how much money you're bringing in. Make sure you have a good, I know this was mentioned before, but make sure you have a good 3 to 6 months saved up so that you can weather storms that come ahead, and try to diversify your funds as well. You bring in money, but try to invest into other things that can help bring in money aside from what you formally do.
Yeah, I think those are, I think that's great. I think paying yourself is so important. I know starting off, especially for me, I was like, but how? But it's an expense. It's a bill. The same way you pay bills and you're like, I don't have a ton of money, but this bill has to get paid every month. That's how it needs to be looked at. It's just good business practice, and you can't grow if you're not paying yourself for your work. And it also just leads to burnout. Literally, it will lead to burnout when you work so many hours. You work 70 hours a week, something crazy, and you have no money in your bank account to show for it. It doesn't make sense. And also, to her point, saving. My husband started us doing something a long time ago where we, every week I go in and I take like 30% of my profits out and I put it in a savings account. And it literally is one of the most genius things that I have done as a business owner. And I credit him for it. But, initially I'm like, how are we going to save? But I just do it based on my revenue. So, whatever my revenue is at the end of the week, I take 30% of that and I put it in a savings account. If we had a negative week because we paid a bunch of bills, then I don't take anything for that week. But then next week when we catch up, I take that 30%. Sometimes that 30% is tiny. Sometimes it's a bigger amount, but we're building this reserve on the side. So when I get down to a very small amount of funds in the bank, I have this, amount of money, and that can be $100,000 before you know it, $30, $50, $100,000 just in a year or something off of like pulling this tiny amount off, and you forget about that savings. And then you go and look at it and you're like, oh, wait, I do have some money. And then the last thing is not to undervalue yourself, especially with your pricing. You're always going to get customers who are saying your product's too expensive. That literally is going to be a forever thing. But you have to understand what the market value of your product is, and kind of set yourself right where you want or need to be. And if people are telling, listen to the market. If too many people are telling you it's expensive, then revisit it. But if you have visited it and you fit right in with where you're supposed to be, then that's where you need to be. And when customers tell you you're too expensive, don't get that kind of like nervous feeling where you need to like, oh, maybe I should do a sale or maybe I should discount it, because those are practices that over time will just lead to you undervaluing yourself and not charging what you need to be charging. And it's not going to fit your margins, right? Like, because you're going to try to please other people and then your margins are all the way down here. And now your customers are happy, but you've made no money. It's just a vicious cycle. So.
Yes, thank you so much for that, because the discussions around money and women just having money discussions can be just so taboo. So the advice that you just gave was so key and so important for our listeners. Thank you to our incredible panelists for sharing their insight, experience, and time with us. We have so much great content coming your way today. Now I'm thrilled to pass the mic to Mastercard's EVP of North America Marketing and Communications, Cheryl Gurin, to announce the recipients of 2 Fearless Fund grants here in New York. Over to you, Cheryl.
Black-owned businesses are vital to inclusive growth, and yet they are the hardest hit by the impacts of the pandemic. An estimated 41% of Black-owned businesses across the U.S. shut down between February and April last year, either temporarily or worse yet, permanently. And we can't let this continue. Mastercard is committed to driving awareness and taking action to support the economic progress of Black women-owned businesses and their communities. Through our Strivers events with Create and Cultivate and the Fearless Strivers Grant Contest with Fearless Fund, we are highlighting Black female business owners who are overcoming obstacles and providing funding they deserve to maintain and grow their business. Today, I am honored to announce Mastercard and Fearless Fund are awarding 2 local New York City business owners, Tiffany Mason, founder and owner of Harlem Pilates, and Taylor Cook, founder of Tiny Bodega, each with $10,000 grants as winners of the Fearless Strivers Grant Contest. From Tiffany, whose mission it is to make Pilates and wellness services accessible to improve the health and well-being of the Harlem community, to Taylor, whose online and IRL grocery store allows you to discover and shop Black, Indigenous, and people of color owned indie food and wellness brands. These women are not only running businesses, they are giving back and supporting their communities. Together with the Fearless Fund, we are excited to provide Black women, small business owners across the US with additional grants, as well as the tools and resources to help them build their digital presence. To learn more and how you can make a donation, go to fearless.fund/drivers today. And with that, I'm thrilled to pass it over to CEO and founder of Create and Cultivate, Jacqueline Johnson, who is going to highlight a few other incredible local New York City women-led businesses to shop, share, and support.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jacqueline, and I am the CEO and founder of Create and Cultivate, and I am so honored to be here joining forces with Mastercard's Striver Initiative to highlight women and minority-owned businesses across the country. While the Black community currently makes up 22% of New York City's population, just 2% of the businesses there are owned by Black entrepreneurs. And we all know COVID-19 has significantly changed the economic landscape. But many of the challenges Black entrepreneurs face remain the same. So how can we all help? One of the main ways you can help is to support by spending with your dollar. And in this segment, we're shining a spotlight on women whose businesses you can shop, share, and support today and every day. We'll speak with two incredible, inspiring, and entrepreneurial women whom you heard from earlier on in the day to hear their career stories, talk business, and get an up-close look at some of their amazing products. For our first guest, fashion is not only a passion, but also a vehicle to empower others. Michellecadore is the designer, CEO, and visionary behind Yes I Am, a clothing brand that seeks to inspire others to tell their stories of triumph. Her designs feature messages of empowerment like Queens Empower Queens and Know Your Worth and Faith It Till You Make It. But that's not all Michelle does. She's also the co-owner of Brooklyn-based fashion boutique Spot NYC, which showcases 25 plus independent creative brands owned by people of color, including her own Yes I Am. Michelle clearly has a knack for entrepreneurship, and she's made it her mission to use her business platforms to elevate and inspire other women. She took this mission a step further last year when she launched the Cadore Advisory Group, a business consultancy firm dedicated to helping small businesses reach their full potential. You may have also caught her creations on display at some of our past Create and Cultivate events. So here to share her journey and showcase some of her latest designs is the designer, CEO, and visionary behind Yes I Am, Michellecadore. Welcome back, Michelle.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you for having me back. Excited to be here.
Of course. Of course. Thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to see you again, and I can't wait to hear what you've been up to since we last spoke. So before we walk through your latest designs, I'd love for you to tell us in your own words about the movement that you've started in the amazing community you're cultivating through Yes I Am.
Yeah, well, with Yes I Am clothing, it started because, I was met with a challenge in my career. And I had a glass ceiling above me, and I realized that I can either choose to let other people tell me what my future will look like, or I can create it myself. And so I said, I am capable of whatever it is I put my mind to. And, I decided I'm going to start a brand because I am are the two most powerful words for what you put after them shapes your reality. And that's what I've been doing ever since, just really manifesting and creating my own destiny. And it's been an amazing ride. And so in doing so, I'm also helping to empower other people like myself to know their worth and their power.
Absolutely. And I can tell, are you currently at the Spot NYC or where are you?
I am at the Spot.
Amazing.
So
give us the full tour. I'm excited to see it.
And we started in a 100 square foot space, and it's now a 1,000 square foot space. So, I'm very happy and blessed to be here. Yeah. Amazing.
So tell us a little bit about the Spot and Yes I Am and how those two brands sort of play together.
Yeah, sure. So Yes I Am was about a year old. And I mentioned earlier that my mentor became my business partner. Together, we decided to open up space for other creatives of color to be able to showcase their work, because we know how hard it is for, minority-owned business. Well, I'm not going to say minority, but small-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, POC businesses to be able to get space in a storefront, especially in New York City. So we said, why not create this platform? And we started with 3 brands in shop. And within 6 months, we had 25 brands in shop. And today, about 4 years later, we've entered our 62nd brand in shop. We now have an art gallery called Canvas, where we feature different local artists of color every month through art opportunities. And we just recently partnered with the mall to create the Black Creatives and Culture Market and Art Show, where we give opportunities to other New York City local creative brands to pop up during special events. And we have a second gallery that we've partnered with the mall to basically curate ongoingly as we give more opportunities to creatives, to artists to be able to showcase their work and sell it and get money in their pockets. So that's what we're doing over here, creating space.
So you're not busy at all. You're just chilling right now. You have so much going on. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I think we're going to see some of the products that you guys are featuring in the shop.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'm so excited to check it out.
So some of the pieces that we have, I think you can see can you see that? She believed she could, so she did that-ish. That is one, let me see if I can get that camera right. So that is one of the Yes I Am pieces. You can see one of my partner's pieces here as well. We have our, tell me if you can see that.
I love the pink, obviously.
Yes, I'm rocking one too. But she didn't quit though. And I created this piece because, I went through a lot of challenges before I got to where I am now. And I had to remind myself to just keep going, She believed she could, so she did that-ish. It was really, again, all the pieces that I create are really, they're all something that speak to me. So she believed she could, so she did that. It's just basically the epitome of me being able to create this brand and change the narrative for myself. And
and I love the iconic tee. So good.
Yes. Iconic. You want to put that stamp on yourself. You want to make sure that when you walk outside, you know who you are and know your worth, and you're iconic. You're making changes, you're making moves. No matter where you are, you know your destiny, you know your value. And so walk in that power. So that is what iconic
Amazing.
stands for.
And I'm sure these pieces spark so much conversation when you're wearing them out and about. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, for sure. People always love to, ask me about the pieces, or when they buy it and they wear it, they tell me how people stop them, how empowered they feel. So that is the best part of it. I want people to feel that they have that power within themselves whenever they wear any of my pieces. And I love that it can just, make a conversation. Keep the seat. I want the whole damn table. It's definitely a conversation.
I love that.
It's one of the favorites. And then we have one that says, do we still hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal or not? And in this current climate, it definitely speaks to what we see is happening. And we, I try to bring a little bit of reality to fashion and try to just really touch on important topics. Sorry about the lighting. Touch on important topics while I can. So last year I also created a piece that says, we the people too, right? When we had the uprisings after George Floyd's death. And that was a major conversation starter and very popular because it continues that conversation about equality and justice in the world.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And you use your business platform to push culture forward and make diversity a priority, not an afterthought. So how are you seeing your business inspire others firsthand? And what do you hope to achieve with these amazing, thought-provoking pieces that you're putting out?
Yeah, so I'm seeing that other people are also finding ways to create space for each other and to build upon what they are already doing. So for instance, I have someone who was a part of one of our Black Creatives and Culture Market. It was her first show. And she was so inspired that she wanted to do the same thing in her community. And she was like, Michelle, how can I do this? And I was like, let me know when you're ready and we'll sit down and we'll, get it started. And can you tell me your second question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're already kind of answering it based on the impact of the next generation of sort of what you're able to do by giving people not only these opportunities, but also being able to put out a product line that has this emotion, thought, and sort of introspective sayings to it.
Yeah, and so for the product line, it's really about capturing what's happening now and being able to just amplify our voices, amplify our worth, amplify our sense of self. And so, that's what it is. Sometimes I might get a little creative blocked because there's so much going on. But when something strikes me, I want to make sure that what I put out is not just trend. I don't like trends so much, but what I put out will resonate with you years from now. Classics,
Yeah, absolutely. So what has been the most rewarding part of launching a fashion business, and what has been the most challenging?
The most rewarding part of launching my business is seeing my community grow, seeing my creative community grow, and seeing how empowered people are. When they come into my doors, they'll step in and the first thing they ask is this Black owned, and they don't expect that where we are. And I just think it's amazing. I'm like, yes, this is us. I go, it's us and it's us. So come in, this is for you. It's just like, you're at home. They feel it. They're like, I walk in and I feel Black excellence. And I'm like, good, get the vibe. And it's just a beautiful feeling. And, I can't be more blessed and thankful for that. Now, second question again, I'm sorry.
The most challenging part.
The most challenging part is juggling everything. It's a lot. So there are only, for my business, I have Yes I Am, and then for this shop, I have 2 partners. Yes I Am, it's just me, but my partners will help me with my brand. And then Cadore Advisory. It's a lot of work, and I'm not complaining at all. I do find that now that I'm a full-time entrepreneur, I knew because I was working, full-time while running the business. But I definitely work way harder now. And not that I didn't work hard when I worked for other people, but I work way harder now than I did before. But the real challenge, I would say, is just juggling everything and growing. And so I'm hopeful to, we talked about resources and such. So there are programs like Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, et cetera, where they help teach you how to manage and how to grow your business. And I just take advantage of resources that will help me learn how to continue growing and scaling, as well as keeping operations running smoothly,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the hard work never ends when it's your own company. That is for sure. So, Michelle, thank you so much for the tour. It's amazing. The product is awesome. So can you tell everyone where they can shop the pieces seen here today and how they can stay in touch with you and your million different projects you have going on and where they can find you on social media?
Yes, so you can find me at yesiaminc.com, yesiaminc.com. That's my website, or thespotnyc.com, daspotnyc.com. That's the boutique's website. And Yes I Am Inc., same spelling, YESAIAIMINC on Instagram, and DASPOTNYC on Instagram. And if you're in New York City, please feel free to come down to our Juneteenth weekend, Black Creatives and Culture Market on June 19th and June 20th, featuring 25 plus independent creative brands, not including the ones in shop or some in shop, but we're giving more opportunity and space to local brands. I'm hoping up to 40 to be able to pop up within City Point, Brooklyn, and within the downtown Brooklyn area by the Albee Square Plaza. So stay connected.
Amazing. We are so ready for those summertime events. That sounds incredible. Thank you so much, Michelle. As always, a pleasure. I'm loving the new bob. I feel like we're a little twinsy right now.
Thank you.
Always good to see you, girl.
Same here.
Bye.
Thanks, darling. Bye-bye.
Our second entrepreneur spotlight has a background in food service, food marketing, and social media management. But her passion for culinary creativity led her down a completely different road. A chef for almost 15 years, she created the name for her minority and women certified small batch jam company, Trade Street Jam Co., in 2008 while living in an apartment on Trade Street in North Carolina. Now, some 10 years later, her Brooklyn-based company is renowned for its spoonable, fruit-forward, and clean-tasting vegan jams that are low in sugar and high in flavor. Here to tell us more is the founder of Trade Street Jam Co., Ashley Roos. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, so good to see you. And I have to say, it's been absolute torture not being able to just dive into this beautiful cheese plate that we have with all your amazing jams. And I'm so excited to learn more about your company. And I'm sure everyone tuning in is as well. So let's dig right in. Can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? And when did you start Trade Street Jam Co.?
Sure. And I must say that spread you have there does look very gorgeous. I was looking at it. I haven't eaten it. And I was like, I want to dive right in. But I started Trade Street Jam Company in 2016. I did come up with the idea back in 2008. So I'm glad I wrote it down. I was doing a million things at the time. And I lived in North Carolina, but I moved to Brooklyn, and I really just got so inspired by the maker community. They have these really awesome events here where you go and it looks like kind of a rundown warehouse, and you go inside and there's thousands of makers selling beautiful handmade products, anything from food to jewelry to art. And I just was so inspired being a creative that I decided to start making jam again. So I started jamming in my kitchen and making some small batch unique flavors, and then decided to start selling it.
Amazing. Yeah, there's nothing like the energy in New York City with the maker community. It's so awesome. But I have to talk about these flavors because they are insane and delicious. So here are some of your most popular: strawberry, chipotle, and fig, smoked peach, and blueberry lemon basil. I mean, it sounds delicious. So how did you come up with the inspiration behind all these?
I know this sounds crazy, but I dream up flavors and I wake up and I write it down. I've been a chef for over 15 years now. So I literally just, that's what I do. You know, I come up with flavors. I also draw inspiration from, you know, we could go out to a cocktail bar or a restaurant and it can be a breakfast dish or a funky drink. But it can just be a pairing of ingredients that I really find inspirational. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to turn that into a jam. It can be a cocktail with rum and blueberries and a cinnamon dusting and, so, you know, something else. And I might say, oh, blueberry cinnamon jam is going to be great, right? Like I draw this inspiration from the things around me. So that's really where I come up with the ideas. I think for those, I wanted to, because I knew the flavors are going to be a little bit funky and weird, I didn't want customers to be completely thrown off because initially I was making really crazy flavors, right? And people that aren't chefs, like aren't foodie, I would see, like, they'd be like, what? And so I wanted to be able to resonate with them. So I led with flavors that I knew they would recognize and love. So that's why I led with strawberry, chipotle fig, peach, smoked peach, right? And then the blueberry lemon basil so that they could identify a flavor that they know and love, but then I could throw in like an extra twist on it.
Absolutely. And I love how you put on the labels, like what it could be good on. And it's so, diverse. It's salads, it's cheese, it's a tea. I even saw one, which is so cool. Like what a wonderful idea. But the whole idea behind Trade Street is that you have a slightly different approach to jam. So can you tell us in your own words what you guys do best and what sets you apart from other jams out there?
Yeah, our whole mission is to introduce the world to a concept bigger than sugary jam on toast. So we've heard so many customers say, you know, I'm diabetic or I'm just very health conscious and I've given up on jam years ago. So I wanted to approach it in two ways. One, I wanted to be very culinary focused. I didn't want to do a basic strawberry jam, a basic, grape jelly or something like that. I really wanted to stand out. And I always envisioned when we're on a shelf next to a bunch of other jam companies, how would we stand out, right? So I really want to lead with that culinary expertise because that's who I am. And then with a clean label, I mean, it's a trend, but it's a trend that's here to stay. Like people care what they put in their bodies, and some of this stuff has so much crap in it. I mean, the average jam has like 15 to 17 grams of sugar per serving. Ours is 3 to 5. They'll have ingredients you can't pronounce, all these preservatives, these additives, flavorings, things that aren't really necessary. Especially as you get older, you really just start to think more about what you eat and what goes into your body. And when you have children, right? Like I just had a baby. Now I look so much more at ingredient labels, more than I ever did before. So I just thought it was really important to just bring something to the world and to Black culture, right? Blacks struggle with diabetes more than any other race. So just bring something to the world and to the culture that was clean and good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the ingredients from behind, and it's literally like 4 ingredients. It's pretty much everything that's on the label. What's
That's
awesome
right.
about this, to your point, because it comes from a culinary lens, if I'm throwing down blueberry lemon basil on a cheese plate, like, I look culinary. It makes me look like I know what I'm talking about and doing as a host, which I love. But the thing that I think is really cool is that you offer the sampler collection. So can you talk a little bit about that? It's sort of your best sellers as minis, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite. It comes in this cute little like branded box. And
Cute.
it has one of each flavor. Yeah, it has one of each of our SKUs in there. And it's a good way to welcome to Trade Street, right? It's your welcome to Trade Street. And if you're unsure, right, we get a lot of people who are like, wait, jam? I don't even know. Like, what is jam? Like, it's not my Smuckers. Or like, there's a few flavors I liked, but I didn't want a full-size jar. It's really just the perfect thing to have an introduction into our brand. And then it's also so great for gifting. Can I tell you, my mom buys these by the tens, and she just keeps them at home, and she like hands them out like as hostess gifts if she's going to someone's house. Like if she forgets it's someone's like birthday and she's going to go get her hair done, and she's like, oh, it's my hairdresser's like birthday or whatever. It's just such a cute little gift, and people love good food. And I think like people are used to getting gifts that they can't do anything with, that like it's going to sit on a shelf or something. So a gift that you can eat and really enjoy. And then when they find out like, wait, I can put this in a drink, I can do all these things with it. I think, people just go crazy for it.
It's truly a perfect housewarming gift. It's so fun. It's so good. It's just amazing. So tell me, what are some of your favorite jam flavor and food combinations?
You know what? People ask this all the time, and I always like say I should prepare a better answer. I'm such a foodie. I eat this stuff on everything. I kid you not. Like, we can order tacos and we'll put some of the smoked peach jam on there. I love cheese. Who doesn't love cheese? Like, these are great with any like charcuterie board. Literally could eat cheese and jam and bread all day long. I love a good craft cocktail. So I love making drinks with these. We've got a really good strawberry paloma with the strawberry chipotle and fig jam, which is so good for the summer. It's got like some spice in there, some fresh muddled strawberries. So that's really, really good. I mean, God, there's so many things. Like, there's something for everybody. Like, if you're watching this and you're like, is that for me? Like, it's for you, honey. It's for you.
It's so true. And my go-to when people are coming over that I want to impress is I put just a whole thing of brie in the oven for 20 minutes and then do a scoop of the strawberry chipotle and fig. When you take it out of the oven, game over. Everyone's going to be obsessed. It makes you look like you've been in the kitchen for a long time, but you haven't. So obviously you've been an entrepreneur now for a long time. So what's your number one piece of advice for new entrepreneurs starting a business today?
It would probably be, gosh, there's so many, but it would probably be just the ability to be nimble, to pivot, to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, things are ever changing, and you have to be comfortable with that. And it's so much easier said than done. But I think I've seen the most success and the lowest stress levels when I can look at a problem or something that's going on and say like, wait, back up. The reason I don't like the way this feels is because I'm growing. And I can really say, oh, okay, wait, that's a good thing. Yes. So that's why you don't like doing this. I mean, it's so simple, but it really is a positive approach to something instead of kind of being like, oh, this sucks, right? Like, I don't like doing this portion of the business or whatever. So I just think being able to be comfortable with that change and then like pivot, being nimble to different things. Like, look at COVID. It's a perfect example where there were so many businesses that just fought going to online, like didn't want to do that, didn't want to do like the delivery or move to like the Seamless or DoorDash model. And then it came along and then it's like either it's like do or die, and so I think not getting stuck in your ways is just like so crucial as an entrepreneur.
I think that's absolutely right. Just not being married to one idea and being flexible, which we all learned last year, absolutely. So I am definitely stocking up on all of these. They sound amazing, and I'm pretty sure this cheese plate's going to be destroyed in the next 5 minutes. But can you tell everyone where they can shop the products and how they can stay in touch with Trade Street Jam Co. via social?
Yeah, absolutely. So head to our website, tradestreetjamco.com. It's tradestjamco.com. And that's our Instagram handle as well, tradestjamco. Our Instagram page is so fun. There's tons of recipes, tons of videos. We're making drinks. We're doing all sorts of things. And head to the website. Check us out. Great for gifting, great for eating, great for drinking, great for all the things.
All the things. Thank you so much. You are so amazing and so incredible to talk to all the time. And I love what you're doing. And that box looks amazing. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And be sure to send a photo of that demolished cheese board. I love that stuff.
Get ready. We'll do a stop motion because I think it's going to be too fast to be able to catch on camera.
That's great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Michelle and Ashley for taking time out of your very busy days to talk us through your incredible ventures. This was so inspiring, and I cannot wait to shop all of these incredible products. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Arian to close out the day.
Thank you again to Nicole, Michelle, Ashley, Rajatha, Salah, Cheryl, Jacqueline, and all the incredible women who joined us here today in New York. What an inspiration. And thank you to all of you at home for tuning in to the third Strivers destination of our virtual multi-city roadshow. We're thrilled you could join us for this important conversation and hear from this inspiring group of women on how you can shop, share, and support this community of strivers. Make sure you join us at the next and final stop of the Strivers Roadshow. We'll be coming to you live from New Orleans. Head to createcultivate.com to reserve your virtual seat and discover all the past Strivers Roadshow destinations.